What is up, all my favorite people of the whole entire world? We are here talking Star Wars because The Last Jedi is right around the corner, and the big question going about is, who are Rey's parents? So today, me and my very good friend Cody, yep, Cody's back on my channel, of course, we're here talking our sweet film life, but we're talking about Rey's parentage, and we're going to go down some theories, and two of them mostly that we're going to talk about, and then two are kind of like, oh, maybe it could happen, but Cody, why don't you introduce yourself?
Everybody, my name is Cody Curtis. Yeah, as you can probably already tell, Zach and I, we have been doing collaborations for quite a while now. Just recently, we also did a Star Wars The Last Jedi speculation video, so I highly recommend you checking that out. But we're not talking about that today. We are talking about Rey and her parents. So Zach, thank you for having me on the channel.
Of course, man. And guys, please go check out that speculation video, because that was a ton of fun to do. There's tons of theories on there, and we kind of left out the Rey parentage thing for a reason, because we're talking about it here today. But Cody, why don't we just get straight into it with our first thing? And our first thing is, a lot of people still think it's Luke Skywalker is her dad. What do you think?
I have given up on that. There was speculation coming out when The Force Awakens first came out that it was Han Solo, that it was Leia, that it was Luke Skywalker. I don't believe that. I am still under the impression that her lineage comes from the Kenobis, because I will still go back to that scene inside of The Force Awakens when she's in Maz Kanata's tavern and she goes down to the basement, and when she picks up the lightsaber before she falls back, you hear Obi-Wan say, "Rey, these are your first steps." That's a big sign, but also her quickness to come to a knowledge of the Force, her quickness into learning how to use the Force. All of it is just so palpable, and I felt it was kind of in your face, or in my face, so I still believe that Obi-Wan Kenobi is her grandfather, and she is a descendant of him.
I agree with you on that too, which we will get to later on in this video. But yeah, some people still think it's a Skywalker, because it has to be a Skywalker story. But technically, we have a Skywalker because it's Kylo Ren is around that descendants. The thing is that when Force Awakens was coming out, Skywalker was the main one. I think there's maybe like a 20% possibility that maybe Luke is still part of her somehow. But really, we'll figure that out in the first 2 minutes of The Last Jedi. If he turns around and he says, "Daughter?" and she goes, "Dad?" So that's there. But going from there, we're going to the next theory, which is some people are liking to say that she's somehow related to Qui-Gon Jinn. Yes, the guy in The Phantom Menace, Liam Neeson. I don't believe in this one at all, but I thought it was something intriguing to at least bring up in this video. What do you think, Cody? Do you think this is possible?
There might be a possibility that she's related to Qui-Gon Jinn, but for me, it's just non-existent. It might be a small percentage, but I just don't believe it. I haven't seen enough evidence in any of the Star Wars films to actually show that Qui-Gon Jinn had any kind of relations with anybody, or that Rey is a descendant of him. So for me personally, I'm gonna have to say no for me.
Don't get me wrong. If it turned out that she's somehow related to Qui-Gon Jinn, it'd be a perfect way to segue back to the prequels, because I don't hate the prequels. There's really bad things about them, but Qui-Gon Jinn's one of the best parts about them, and that'd be a nice way to kind of be like, hey, the prequels are still canon, don't forget. Maybe you should forget some parts of it. But going from here, we're going to a theory that I just started studying and doing a little bit the last few days. And that is, so if you haven't beaten Star Wars Battlefront 2, which if you haven't beaten it yet, I don't think you're really going to care. But just in warning, there are going to be some spoilers here. So our main character, Iden Versio, she has a little romance starting here with Del. And it starts on Jakku. And I'm thinking there might be Rey's parents, and I think that because Kylo says something to them. He says, "She ruined you. You think she changed you, but she made you weak. You think your daughter changed you." That's the big key right there. And for me, this is something that I think would work for this franchise, because for me, a lot of people believe that Rey's parents are just no one. They're just an unknown into this world, and that she was just born of the descent with the Force in her, just like Anakin was. And maybe this is how it works. These two characters, to normal audience, to not Star Wars fanatics, are just unknown people. But to us Star Wars junkies, we'll feel that in our Force. We'll feel the Force, and that will be like, hey, that's a nice callback.
A theory that is plausible. Because throughout the ages, throughout Star Wars, and we've seen that even if somebody comes from people who are Force sensitive, but they don't have any Force powers whatsoever, their descendants can be trained to use the Force. For instance, Anakin Skywalker. Say what you will about the prequels, but the fact is, Anakin Skywalker, he doesn't come from anybody of some magical Force lineage. He doesn't come from anybody special. He's just a kid who was trained to use the arts of the Force, and he was trained to use the lightsaber and became quite a powerful Jedi. And so, is it possible that Rey is a descendant of Iden Versio and Del? Absolutely, because it is, I mean, you can pretty much see, maybe it's her flight style, maybe it's the way that Del sees things, but there is a little bit of Force sensitivity within them.
Oh, and maybe some of you guys are being like, you guys are crazy, like that's not plausible. Maybe we are. Maybe we're just thinking way outside the box. But this is something that's been actually on the internet. So we're not the only two that actually think this. But going from here, we're going to our number one theory, which I'm going to kind of split down the middle. Because part of it is she's a Kenobi, but I'm throwing in some weirder stuff in there. I'm throwing in that maybe she's Sabine and Ezra Bridger's child, and Sabine is the child of Satine and Obi-Wan, because we do know that Obi-Wan and Satine had something. Maybe they had a kid.
You know, Zach, it's actually quite funny. Because when I think of all the theories when it comes to Rey, of her lineage, her parents, and everything else, this is always the theory I come back to. And it's the one that I most strongly believe that exists. Guys, first of all, if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you really should, because it is Star Wars eye-opening, and it is fantastic. And the relation between Obi-Wan and Satine it's beautiful, and it really makes you start to wonder, could they be Rey's grandparents? Could Ezra and Sabine really be Rey's parents? And honestly, going back and forth, no matter how many theories come my way, no matter how many theories come our way, this is always the theory I will come back to, and it's the one I believe we will eventually get.
Yeah, this is the one that I'm like pretty dead set on, but I think there's like a 70% chance this will happen. If it's not Sabine and Ezra, then maybe it's just Obi-Wan and somehow she's related to Obi-Wan. Just going back to what you said, the fact that her first words to her were from Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think is the main thing. And a lot of the director and the actors and actresses have all said, we all think it's pretty obvious. If you've watched The Force Awakens, it's pretty obvious who her parents are. And I think who her lineage is. And I think that's the main thing right here, is it has to be a Kenobi. I think that's where you and me are delving deep to this. And maybe you and me, Cody, are just thinking way outside the box, and she turns out to be really just no one. She's just someone who has Force powers, and she's incredibly strong.
Zach, I don't think I can really add on to that. You've said pretty much every thought that I've had so far.
Well, guys, I think that's where I'm going to stop this video. What I want you guys to do, though, is first, make sure to go check out Cody's channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on my channel and his, especially because if you guys like my enthusiasm, my chemistry, and my charisma, it's the same over there with Cody. I love having you on here, Cody. But guys, please comment down below and tell me what your guys' thoughts were. What are your guys' predictions for Star Wars? Who do you think Rey's parents are? That's what I want to hear. But before we get going, Cody, tell them where they can find you.
Well, Zach, thank you so much for having me on the channel. We love doing this, guys. As you know, we love making these collaborations for you. It's fantastic. But you can find me here on YouTube at just my name, Cody Curtis. It should be the first name that pops up. You can also follow me on Twitter at _Cody_Curtis, or you can also find me at Instagram, Snapchat, and Stardust with just Cody Curtis as the username.
Guys, yeah, you guys can go find his links down below. Of course, guys, make sure to go also check out sandwichjohnfilms down below and find some giveaways, advanced screenings, all down there, and tons of movie news. I love being a part of this team, and really, it's just a great website, so come check us out, guys. But of course, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, make sure the Force stays strong with you, and you guys all stay classy.